And I'm going to end up clipping this and going ahead and putting this on the True Crime channel so I can give these motherfuckers a little fucking morsel, a little nibble. Guys, what we're going to be talking about today is my continued coverage of Bryan Kohberger and the IDAHO 4 case. What's up, Troy? Guys, not a whole lot has been going on. And so I haven't been posting over there. You guys know how this is. Got a lot of things going on. And for you people over on the True Crime channel, understand, I told you before, this channel doesn't, this is not like my profitable channel, the True Crime channel. So this isn't where I hang out. But also, there's not a lot of information coming out on this case or any of the cases that we're currently following. But we will do an update here today. Bryan Kohberger, as the audience, he's not going home yet. Have they released paperwork on BK yet? They've released a lot, but there's still nothing there. Now, today was a deadline that we're going to talk about. Today, his alibi was supposed to come out today. Now, that means tomorrow or later on tonight, we could end up getting the very information that could crack this fucking case wide the fuck open. Now, even though I haven't been involved in this shit a whole lot in the last couple of weeks, I've been planning for this hike, I've been doing other things, I've been paying attention. I understand like what crime time isn't that rewarding, but I've been missing the crime time updates. Yeah, well, we're going to start doing them here and then posting them over there, David. So we're going to start doing them here on these shows and then posting the clip of it over there, right? So anyway, when it comes to this case, there hasn't been a whole lot of information. But if you look around at the other true crimers, basically they're just doing what they've always done, just making up reasons to make videos, no real information, does not matter to them. And now that they're done riding my dick every goddamn day, basically, essentially, they went back to this situation of just continuously making up shit and making something out of nothing when it comes to this case. But when it comes to this case, what we got today is that the alibi is due, and we don't have that just yet. Idaho murder suspect Bryan Kohberger could reveal today whether he has an alibi for the night of the brutal slayings, as his defense team suggests DNA on the knife sheath was planted. Now, a lot of us have been saying that this DNA could have been planted the entire time. Now, I don't know what you guys think. I don't know in regards to this, but what I am saying is the likelihood, I will be honest here, the likelihood of DNA being planted is almost 0%. Even though I support Bryan Kohberger, I believe he is innocent, particularly until proven guilty. I don't believe that his DNA was planted. What I do believe is a possibility is that the object itself was planted. The knife sheath itself was either planted or already in the house or whatever the case may be. I don't necessarily believe that these motherfuckers were killed with a K-bar at all. I don't necessarily believe that at all. But going back into this, Bryan Kohberger's deadline to submit an alibi to the court was on Monday. So today is Monday. It is 7:41 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I believe that more than likely, if he was going to submit an alibi, it would already be there. Let's go over to Twitter. Let's go over to Twitter real quick and let's type in, let's go to Bryan Kohberger. Let's see if they have any information. Let's look at latest. I don't know if they've released anything yet. I don't believe that we have any information on his alibi yet. He says, looks like they are updating the case, but not making the documents public. This is probably, so it looks like, if you look right here, case summary was updated on July 24th, 2023. That is today. So more than likely his alibi was submitted or something of that nature, but it very well could have been in order to seal. Maybe his alibi, let me just say this. If they seal this information, if this was the day, and if they seal his alibi information, to me that means clearly that his alibi is one of them so-called other victims, the survivors. Now, I've talked about it. It could be Dylan Mortensen. It could be the other bitch. But ultimately, when it comes to Bryan Kohberger, if he was submitted an alibi and they're keeping it private, it could be to protect some random innocent person. It could be anything. But the best case scenario for Bryan Kohberger is if he does submit an alibi today. Now, the thing about this is, with this information being the case summary being updated today, this leads me to believe that he has indeed submitted an alibi today, if you ask me. Now, I haven't seen anything else, but if he had an alibi, today was his deadline on when to release it. Let me get back to where we were. If he had an alibi, just real quick. Idaho murder suspect Bryan Kohberger has until the end of the day to submit an alibi accounting for his whereabouts on the night of the quadruple killing, as his defense team suggests DNA on the knife sheath might have been planted. I'm curious with the audience, do you guys believe that it was planted or could have been planted? I believe that, if you ask me, I believe the knife sheath was already in the house, or it's something that Bryan Kohberger sold or gave to someone else, maybe for drugs or whatever the case may be. So in my honest opinion, because once again, I don't believe Kohberger put it there, but I also don't believe it was planted. Does that make sense? Like, I don't believe that, like, the police were like, let me plant this evidence here. Either the sheath itself or cross-contamination. Exactly. I just don't, because think about it. Okay, I guess you could come up and think, and you could come up with the concept that, okay, they needed to get people back in school, so they needed to solve the case, blah, 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 blah. But listen, man, that sounds too far-fetched. It's not that I don't think the police would or could plant shit. I'm saying, why would they in this case? Agent 49 says could have, but I agree that I think it's his DNA, but it doesn't mean he was at that house. Yes, because once again, we've talked about this. If I'm out shopping for a daily planner and I touch, and I'm looking through all the daily planners and I touch all these different daily planners, and then you go and buy the daily planner that I looked at yesterday, then you clearly are going to have my touch DNA inside your house. Now, I know that seems ironic because it's a stabbing and there's a knife sheath there, but that's all. You got to remember, guilty without a doubt. The point of this is you can't be any reasonable doubt. Just because there's an object in the house with his touch DNA does not mean he was ever even in the house. Technically, it does not mean he was ever in the house, and that's really what matters. The alibi would feature evidence placing Kohberger somewhere else at the time of the killings and is considered one of the most important elements to a strong legal defense. Exactly, I agree with that. Last week, Kohberger's team filed a separate defense suggesting that DNA linking him to a knife sheath found on one of the victim's beds may have been planted by someone else during an investigation that spans hundreds of members of law enforcement. Now, what I do believe could be possible is, what if the surviving people had more involved with this case and I believe it could have been planted by someone else if it was planted, but not police. Look, man, law enforcement is not going to risk their entire career to plant this to frame some random dude in a killing that essentially means nothing. Well, according to his PhD, he had to be an intern at police department. Very possible. I guess the point I am trying to make is what would be the motive behind planting it if you're a police officer? What would be the motive behind framing Bryan Kohberger? And by the way, I don't think Bryan Kohberger did it. One of the ISP cops that framed a chiropractor the year before. I don't know, JB, that cop risked his entire career and freedom to beat a trans ass. I mean, hey, sometimes you just gotta beat a motherfucker's ass to solve the case. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense if you're trying to. Don't get me wrong. I believe they rushed the case to get people back in school because it's 50% of the economy there. They want to quickly wrap up the case because of the towns and university loss of reputation and revenue. That makes sense. It makes sense. So let me poll you guys that care about this case. If you believe the DNA was planted, press 1. If you don't, press 2. Well, okay. Whether it be by police or by someone else. If you believe the knife sheath in the DNA, or the DNA, if you believe it was planted, press 1. If you don't think it was, press 2. I'm going with 2. I don't know if I believe it was planted. Does that make sense? I knew Manning would say 1. She's like, it's controlled opposition, JB. They're planting it all. They're planting everything. You don't understand. It's making the goddamn frogs gay. Which it actually does make the frogs gay. But Dawn says 1. Bianca. Yeah, not 100% sure. I'm going to be honest, man. I kind of believe Manning said, look, man, in my opinion, say he was an intern and found out they were doing shady shit and he was going to tell, so they want to put him to death. That makes sense. That's a possibility. Yeah, I don't think it was an incel weirdo, though, honestly. I'm going to be honest, though. So getting back to this, here's what I honestly think. I think it is a lot of speculation. In my opinion, he sold or got rid of the knife. Maybe for drugs, maybe he needed some extra money, whatever. I believe the killer did get the knife from Bryan Kohberger. I believe it is Bryan Kohberger's DNA on it, not blood. But I also believe that he didn't do it. And at this point, since I've been saying it for so long, I hope he didn't do it. Kind of. But I don't know, man. Speculation is what true crime world is all about. I agree with that. Me either at all. I can pull hoes that are 10s. He can, no doubt in my mind. Yeah, look, man, I don't think he's an incel at all. Bryan Kohberger had a career potential, earning potential. You know what I'm saying? Just think about it. There's people out there that we know of a lot worse looking than Bryan Kohberger that's married and making YouTube videos right now, calling y'all his babies. I think Kohberger gave it to Killer to set it up. Kopaka probably did it for him. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, man. Like, I'm kind of feeling like money brings pussy. Exactly. I'm kind of feeling like it was just someone else that did it that just happened to have something that was touched by Kohberger. It may have been a plan on his part, but you know what? Kohberger could fool us. I'm going to be honest. If Kohberger didn't at least turn in an alibi today, I want you to think about this. If he had an alibi, wouldn't he have said it a long time ago? Said it to who? He would have said it to who? I think Demetrius had involvement in it, JB. You can hear him in the audio. I believe there's more than one person involved. I'm not against that thought, Ashley. I think it's very possible Demetrius had involvement. When it comes to the alibi, you said, wouldn't he have said it a long time ago? To who? You got to understand, this is a court case where strategy has to be used. And it's really weird because people like the true crime or YouTubers and all these people in the audience, they're consistently like, wouldn't he be screaming from the rooftop? And I'll be like, screaming to who? Hi, JB, I can't even use my regular channel after you blew up YouTube. Hey, it's kind of the way it works. What's up, ready or not? I've always said Kohberger is good looking and no incel bullshit. Yeah. I mean, look, it just kind of is what it is. When it comes to this shit, like, I'm just thinking of no one thinks it's creepy or weird or grown-ass married man calling is mostly female paying for memberships on a panel. You go live on this baby. Yeah, I don't know what benefit turning in an alibi would have for BK. Is that a real statement? Is that a real statement? And I don't know why look, man. You felt you needed to change your name because of what? Because you're worried about them bums over there knowing that you watch me? Bitch, they watch me. They watch me. Like, it's not, I don't even understand what the problem is. I stand behind every video of mine, including the ones that I made 8 and 15 years ago. So I want the true crime community to understand this coming out my mouth. I stand by every video I've ever made. Period. Now, let's get back to this. But when it comes to, yeah, but who sits for months if they had it? But you think that by him giving an alibi, it would have let him out? You think that who would he have told the alibi? I'm on the other channel? Oh, okay. You think that him giving an alibi to whom would let him out? They've already filed the charges. Yeah, I'm not worried about them motherfuckers being against me. Who the fuck are they? Who the fuck are they? I ain't even worried about that channel. They can suck my dick over there. Don't cops ask if you have an alibi? Not at all. Not. Is that what you guys think happens? Oh, is that what you think happens? That the police ask you if you had an alibi? No, they just come and arrest you, and you have the right to remain silent. No. That is for your lawyer in the courts. No, you don't even have an ability to give your alibi before that, especially if you're doing what you're supposed to do and shutting the fuck up. When you get arrested, your job is to shut the fuck up. I think the only person that may know his alibi is his lawyer. Exactly. Cops aren't trying to help you. They're trying to catch you up. No one has asked Bryan Kohberger his alibi before right now. Nobody has said the words to Bryan Kohberger, do you got an alibi? It's this Monday, Ashley. He's supposed to give his alibi today. You got to realize, you think they take you into a room. Here's the thing, they do. You think they take you to, who interrogated Bryan Kohberger? You think that when that person, I assume when he got arrested, you got to remember, when he got arrested, he was in Pennsylvania. One of the first things he did was lawyer up. By the time he got to Idaho, for the detectives or the people working the case to interrogate him, he already had a lawyer. So he already knew to shut the fuck up. So by the time he got to Idaho, even if they tried to talk to him, he just said, like, talk to my lawyer. Do you see what I'm saying? So no. There would have, and so you screaming as an inmate, hey, let me out, I got XYZ. No. Everything you say can and will be used against you in the court of law. You don't want to sit there And when Bryan Kohberger asks, has anybody else been arrested, does he mean Demetrius? That's a good question. You guys know I think the Tyrone did it. You know I think the Tyrone did it. Who am I going to pick? The white PhD student or the Tyrone, the random Tyrone in this town? I'm going to go with the Tyrone, especially if it was a drug house and shit like that. If I had to pick between Demetrius and fucking Kohberger, I'm going Demetrius. I'm going Demetrius. And I don't give a fuck what they say about that. There is no reason for me to sit here and blame Kohberger, a dude with no fucking legal history, no nothing. He's a good kid by all means. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. Especially when you don't even have any real evidence. In my opinion, people overlook the fact that Demetrius and that broad was over there hanging out. There's video of them hanging out. Like, I'm going to go with that dude. Have you read the affidavits to some of Demetrius's arrests? I'm going with Demetrius. If I'm just going to pick someone out of the area, I'm going with Demetrius. Well, he has to turn his alibi in. It's the deadline. I think he has to turn it in now. Because you got to remember, they're asking for discovery from the prosecution. They're asking for discovery from the prosecution. So if that's the case, you got to give to get a little bit, right? Trial is currently set for October, and in June, the prosecutor said they were seeking the death penalty. Now, I'm just going to be honest. I don't know if the knife sheath was planted. I don't necessarily believe it was by the police. I think he did too, and I ain't racist because people say I'm racist because I say Demetrius because I hear Demetrius' voice, and Demetrius is... Yeah, look, man, stop, and I'll tell you just like I'll tell all these motherfuckers, stop letting these fucking virtue signalers to make you afraid to speak your mind by saying you're sexist or racist or anything. That's what they do. Let me tell you something. That's what these fucking people do to try to get you in line. They thought, even with me, you're a woman beater. You're this and that. You're this and that. You're this and that. You thought that was going to put me in check, you saying that shit? You can claim whatever you want. You can claim I'm a racist. You can claim all that shit, and I don't give a fuck. Who are you? But that's what they will do to you. They'll be like, oh my God, you only think it's Demetrius because you're a racist. And a lot of white people will be like, yes, you're right. Maybe I shouldn't look at the black man. No, I'm going to look at the black man that has a history of violence and drugs. I'm going to look at that guy. The guy that was just arrested and ultimately let out for providing the drugs that killed a motherfucker. By the way, the president of one of the fucking fraternities at that damn school. Yeah, of course. That's what they think. You're proud to be white, you're a racist. You know how it goes, just a mom. They overlooked the fact that Maddie's stepmom took a guilty plea for the trafficking the week before. And of course, we already know about Zena's mom, 100%. Don't ever let them motherfuckers, shame you into not speaking your fucking mind. I know that's right, JB. It's fucking pathetic. They want Bryan Kohberger to be an incel so bad. They ignore the facts that they want to believe. They want not to. No, it's 100% the case. That's 100% the case. And they do it with everything. They do it with everything. They did it with me. JB did this and that. Oh, do you know she hit me first and I was found not guilty? It doesn't matter, JB. We think you did it. Well, that's on you. That's on you, dummy. Why didn't they arrest Demetrius? They arrested Demetrius for that other shit. He said, I'm not white, but I love the white, so I'm a racist too. There you go. No, they arrested Demetrius for that other shit. Demetrius has a long rap sheet. Said it's more than a coincidence that the parents were dealers and dope fiends. 100%. Equal rights, equal fights. Bam. Dad did say I don't want to get into their connection right now. They're silent since. That's exactly the point. Look, man, I hope Bryan Kohberger turned in an alibi today. We'll find out probably tomorrow. I'll keep checking Twitter and see if anything new pops up. Or should I say X? Come on, keep checking X because it's not Twitter no more. I like that shit. But I don't know, man. That is, yeah. So my take on this is simple. This alibi thing is going to be major. I do think more people need to join your channel because you're about the facts and your mind is not set on just Bryan Kohberger being a psychopath stalker. Incel, your mind is set on facts. Yeah, and no, I'll be going, like I said, I'm going to clip these from now on and just put them over on the true crime shit. When the true crime community, when they start acting right, I may come back there and make fresh videos for that channel. But I ain't about to waste my time with them clowns. All them clowns were innocent until proven guilty till we were talking about me. Hell, I was found innocent, and they were like, well, still, we don't think he's innocent. On something a decade ago? We don't care. We think you're guilty. Well, good thing the courts didn't, motherfuckers. Good thing the courts didn't, bitch. Hey, Manning, they did, and then they let him go. Yeah, they were arrested and let go. Found not guilty on that other shit. You know, other channels analyze stuff that does not even matter, like some dude just standing around. Yeah, of course they do. Do you think BK has an alibi? I do. I do, or at least I think that they're going to make one up. Obviously, the court summary changed today, the case summary. So I do think there's going to be something. Now, whether it's a good alibi or not. So I like this channel better anyway, but I found it through the true crime. Thank you. I appreciate it. I've always liked this channel better. I get to talk politics and everything. Over there, they get mad because there's half of them motherfuckers are libtards, and you know what I mean? It just is what it is. But anyway, so I like this, but I do think Bryan Kohberger presented an alibi. You got to understand though, presenting one, establishing one, and even having a good one or two are all different things, right? I think he's 100% going to present an alibi. Now, whether that alibi is any good or not, or convincing, man, that could be something different. JB, did you hear Jeff H. audio, the 2 a.m. to 3 a.m.? Is that why you say it's Demetrius? No, I've been saying I think it's Demetrius for years. I mean, not years, that's crazy. For a long time, since I first saw Emma at the house. Since I saw video of Emma at the fucking house. And I got this, and I got it. It's a gut feeling. I don't necessarily 100% think it's Demetrius. It's a gut feeling. But I do think that Bryan Kohberger is not the killer. Not the killer at all. I think it was a good one since they took so long. I think it could be. They say Demetrius' brother had a white Elantra, but I'm not 100% sure that's accurate. I think that's actually been debunked. If he walks, can he be retried as an accomplice if he is, or by not reporting it? All I know is he can't be charged with first-degree murder again. If he walks on first-degree murder, he's free. Yes, they can recharge him with other shit. I wonder if the cop was a perv when he had the camera on Emma, when he was digging something out of her ass. Yeah, you have no duty to report a crime. None. KD says, I think it was Bethany Funk. That's because you love Dylan Mortensen. KD loves Dylan Mortensen. I do. Oh, you're talking about the alibi. Wouldn't that, and I hope to God it is, wouldn't that be crazy? And I predicted this before. Wouldn't it be crazy if the alibi is Bethany Funk? That would blow this case wide open. Like, motherfuckers would lose their shit. They would lose their mind. That wasn't debunked. It's real audio. They're playing it during the trial. What are you talking about, debunked? I wasn't talking, what was debunked? I wasn't talking about the audio. I didn't hear the audio. That wasn't what I was talking about. That wasn't what I was talking about at all. What did I say was debunked? There was something else I said that was debunked. I never heard the Demetrius audio at all. Don't be double jeopardy. He could be picked up on federal charges, but they have to be different. In Idaho, you do have to report the crime act, actually. Yeah, well, ain't that a bitch? It's a crime to not be a snitch. Nah. I think it was either Brent or DM's boyfriend. Very possible. Look, man, I'm going with either just some random motherfucker. Brent is definitely a possibility. But Demetrius, I'm still leaning towards that. Call it my racism. I don't give a fuck. I'm leaning towards Demetrius. Yeah, no, I believe you. You ain't got to get the statute. I believe you. That's a good point, David. The Jack Showalter, you know, that's still a possibility because ain't nobody heard shit from that motherfucker. Just me personally, like, and look, I got people that follow me. I know that Mindy swears up and down. Mindy swears up and down as Kohberger. Yeah, Bethany Funk would be in there. I still think it's a possibility. What's up, Frederick? I still think Kaylee's boyfriend was still suspicious as fuck. Nah. I don't know. When in doubt, call Tyrone. Exactly. I still say you don't let a whore dump you and just take your fucking 4K dog. They called that dude, what, 10K that night? I don't know. Yeah, of course Mindy's cool. She's wrong. Again. But she's definitely pretty cool. It's kind of the way this works. For years, I've been going back and forth with Mindy. She'll be wrong. I'll be right. She's got to say, you're the king. You were right. I got to say, that's exactly right. And then we go about our business. It's just kind of the way it works. So, like I said, there's not really any news regarding this, to be perfectly honest. And I know I don't sit and make 3-4 true crime YouTube videos a day about nothing, because there is no goddamn news. Just people debating whether the shit was essentially framed or not. That's pretty much it. And the attorneys are challenging the DNA evidence. I don't know. Let's see what they're talking about here. Let's see what they're talking about here on Court TV.
Let's take you back to Idaho. And the key evidence in that case, as outlined by Shannon Gray, who's representing the families, is the DNA. The DNA of the defendant found on a little snap button on the knife sheath that was found beneath the bodies of 2 of the victims. Like, this is unbelievable evidence. It puts the defendant there at the scene of the crime with the victims at the time of the killing.
No, it doesn't.
I mean, to me, how do you get around it? Well,
how do you get around it? It's transferable. Touch DNA is transferable. Period. Manning says, what do you think about Rex and those other murders? Man, I haven't even gotten involved in it yet. Like, that's too much shit to, like, try to catch up on. That's 20, how many, well, not 20 years. That's a lot of years involved in that case. So much different shit. And I know, and it's one of, yeah, that Rex shit is crazy. It is an interesting thing. It is a very interesting case, but there's so much info packed into it, I wouldn't even know how to start, to be honest. I had to piss.
you may have an indication on what the defense may be attempting to do. And don't forget, this DNA match was a 5.37 octillion times. I mean, it's like ridiculously how precise it is. It cannot be anyone else. It cannot reasonably be anyone else. It's his DNA on that knife sheath. So the defense filed some papers, and within those papers, one of the things they're saying is that what the state's argument asked this court and the accused killer to assume is that the DNA on the sheath was placed there by the accused killer and not someone else during an investigation that spans hundreds of members of law enforcement and apparently at least one lab the state refuses to name. So how does the state respond to that? Well, they respond in part. This is a great conclusion. If the defendant wishes to explore the theory that his DNA was planted on the K-bar knife sheath, he is free to do so, but the family tree created by the FBI has no relevance to that theory. So you've got, on the one hand, and it's all within this argument about the process of getting the DNA, but what the defense is arguing here is that potentially the DNA is planted there or somehow is contaminated, and God, I don't get it. I don't get how that would work, how that would even work. It worked in the O.J. Simpson.
Somebody say, where's your boxer? He should get screen time. He's gone. He's gone. Kaylee was way out of Jack's league, and it enraged him. Did it? It sounded to me like did it? It sounded to me like on that night she was calling him every fucking 5 minutes, and looks like she was bugabooing him for the dick. I'm sorry, I didn't know. No, it's fine. I gave him up. I got shit to do. Yeah, I don't think Jack did it either.
Simpson case, for O.J. Simpson, the jury thought it was a reasonable explanation that the DNA on the gloves.
Yeah, she wanted some dick. She came back drunk and was hitting up Jack's phone all damn night until somebody killed her. That doesn't sound like she was too good for him. Sound like she wanted him, and he was like, fuck that bitch.
Planted there by Furman, right?
I'm just saying.
Let's bring back in our think tank, Marcia Mignone, Bernard Fialona, Randy Kessler. Marcia, in the O.J. Simpson case, like, I understand, I could follow the bouncing ball, right? O.J. Simpson's a suspect. We've got some of his DNA. We've got some of his blood. We'll pour it onto the glove. Voila, we got him, right? So there he's like framed for murder because he was a suspect. How would that work in this case? They had no idea who this guy was.
Well, according to the defense, they could have gotten
the closest to what? Somebody said, JB, they were calling him because he was the closest. Oh, you think they were calling him while they were getting murdered? That's an interesting theory.
The DNA from when they arrested this individual. They could have gotten the DNA from the scene and spread it on the knife. So it's a tough argument. It's a tough sell. But it worked in the OJ case. And Furman really had a hard time.
They didn't arrest him until they already did the DNA.
Well, did they do any searches? Remember, this is information that we don't know. We don't know, Vinny, if they went and searched his property, if they had taken samples from him. Because remember, that was the argument in the OJ cases, that they took vials of blood from OJ and never returned some of those vials. So if that's the situation here, where they were able to draw blood from this individual, then the defense may have an argument if they can prove that.
But that's how they caught him. They caught him because of the DNA. That's when they arrested him.
So that's what you guys are suggesting. Oh, that's a good point. So you're suggesting that the murders happened before 3 o'clock, during all those times that they were calling Jack. I agree with that, Gina. I agree with that completely. So you're saying, in your opinion, they were calling... You know what? I'm going to be honest with you. That is ironic. That is kind of it's a strange coincidence that they were frantically calling this man from both phones right before 3 o'clock. And if you remember the initial timeline, it was not 4 a.m. to 4:30. You know what I mean? I hear you there, Kathy. I hear you there. I will say this. I'm not sure. I don't think his DNA was planted. I think, if anything, the sheath was planted. I think the murders may have happened earlier, too. It's very possible. Jack didn't have anything to do with it, in my opinion. I agree with that. I believe Kaylee and Maddie was calling Jack D because they were fighting for their lives. The 4 a.m. time frame is wrong. It was 2 to 3 a.m. It proves it. I think that's a good theory. I don't believe the 4 a.m. time frame either. Here's the problem, though. Here's the problem. DoorDash at 4 a.m. It's the only problem I can't solve. Like I'm looking at what about the unidentified DNA? It's exactly right. That's true.
And they had to do the familial DNA first, Randy. First, they had to go through the garbage in Pennsylvania. Like, they didn't have his DNA to plant onto there. They tested the DNA. They got a profile of the DNA on the sheath. And then my understanding is, then they matched it to, I guess, his father's DNA that was in the garbage somewhere. And then when they finally got him into custody, they took a swab. So, I mean, is anyone going to think that...
Nick D said DoorDash left the door unlocked. That's when he entered. I think it's possible, whoever did. Ain't you the dude that just called me a fraud in my comment section? Ain't you the dude that called me a fraud for talking about the storm that hit Georgia? Easy if they were dead, if you face unlocking the order door. I mean, that makes sense. He said, yes, I was drunk. All right, that's cool. I can roll with that. I was in Florida. And I get it. You thought that I was saying that I was in Florida? No. But I lived in Florida through many hurricanes. And so what I was saying is the damage to my property is far more than any hurricane in Florida ever did. You see what I'm saying? I don't know if it was a tornado that hit my shit or what. But I'm a fair man. Kathy says, but Jack Showalter could have had a crush on Kaylee. I think that's a potential too. I'm curious where Jack Showalter went. I've always been curious of that. But Jack Showalter could have had a crush on Kaylee, recently broke up with Jack D, so maybe, yeah, any of that's possible. Yeah, I like the honesty. I'm good with that. JB, they said it was an F2 tornado to hit my shit. It's very possible. If you, trust me, bro, you come up here, you'll see all this shit, you'll be like, oh, man. And I'm leaving it. I ain't about to get out there with chainsaws and shit right before I go on the trail. I got shit to do. I gotta get to West Virginia. But, anyways, it's like they were all murdered at 4 a.m., but it was actually 2 to 3 a.m. I definitely think it's possible they got the time frame fucked up. Because remember, their initial time frame was not 4 to 4:30. I'm very curious about the DoorDash order. Agreed, KD. Any DNA they use to point the finger at Bryan needs to be highly looked into. Chain of custody needs to be verified. No, and I think that's the way Bryan Kohberger will, unless he's got a great alibi right now, I think it'll be a technicality. I think the chain of custody is going to be a problem with all of this evidence. The rewatch of the Grove truck is super suspicious. You got people watching the Kaylee telling Maddie, and she looking over, potentially. 3 a.m. 2011, Elantra is strange. Like they made it fit BK. Got a stack of limbs ready to burn this fall around the fire. There you go. A lot of killers do things to throw off the timeline and shit. Agreed. The DoorDash driver was to throw the cops off the track. Who was going to break into their home at 4 a.m.? They would do it earlier, 2 to 3. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know who would go to that house on a Saturday night expecting there not to be a lot of people anyway. Like, that house is known as a party house. Like, wouldn't you expect there to be a gang of motherfuckers there? Like, I don't know, man. All the secrecy and bullshit is the issue. Exactly, Elser. 100% agree. 100% agree.
They want to frame this grad student who's an absolute nobody loser.
See, you see how the news talks about this motherfucker? You see how the news talks about this motherfucker? That is insane. A nobody loser. A dude going for his PA, a nobody loser.
So, you know, they really have to pull, it's like who framed Roger Rabbit? They're going to have to pull a rabbit out of the hat. This is all they have. You know, they're going to go back to the old faithful, which worked a lot better 20 years ago. This is voodoo science. This is not real science. DNA, you know, we're trusting these scientists. That's about all they have, right? Because
no, that is all they have.
And I think you're right, Vinny. You know,
no,
we come so
no,
far.
that is all they have. That is literally all they have.
Or that people now accept there's DNA on there. Why would law enforcement lie? What other reason would they have to pin it on this guy? You know, did someone say, let's go get that guy, let's get some DNA?
Nobody's necessarily saying law enforcement planted it. It could have been anyone that planted it.
DNA, let's bring it in. And if they have some of those theories, you got to link it up. You can't just say, well, we don't trust the state. There's some suspicion.
No, that's why I call all this shit fake news. If they were an honest news organization, they wouldn't say things like that about this dude who's innocent until proven guilty. He's a nobody loser. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, fake news, man. Fake news.
The state and law enforcement. But in this case, I don't think they're going to get away with saying that's why he didn't do it, because the state just picked my guy and decided to pin it on him because they wanted closure. You know, you got to find that there was a bone to pick with him, that somebody was angry at him, somebody else brought that DNA. I don't see any of that happening. You know, it's a long road between here and there, but when you got nothing, you fight with anything you can fight with.
To me, Bernarda, like even like floating that.
Man, I hope he drops the alibi, and I hope he did today, and I hope it's fucking, I hope it's earth shattering.
Idea basically tells me you're cornered. You're cornered with this DNA. You're trying to figure out a way around it. Like the only interaction he had with law enforcement, he was stopped twice in Indiana. And Indiana's already come out and said we had no conversations with the FBI. We had no idea who this guy was. He was just somebody who got pulled over twice in our state by 2 different law enforcement agencies. There he is. So it's not like they're like trying to sneak
exactly. It's fucking touch DNA. It's not legit. Yeah.
Piece of his
it's not,
you know, a skin cell or something there.
So Vinny, I don't think it's a strong argument, but hear me out though. You have to think a defense attorney can spin this to the jury, because remember, you just need one juror to side with you in order to get a hung jury. It doesn't necessarily mean that you'll get an acquittal the second time around.
I went on that jury.
I think if the defense argued,
I was on that jury.
Whoever killed these students was so meticulous to the point where they didn't leave anything else on the scene.
No, what she's saying is excellent. What that bitch is saying is excellent. Think about that. Someone that killed these kids is so meticulous with their planning. They left no other evidence anywhere at all. There's no fingerprints, DNA anywhere at all. But there just happens to be this knife sheath. To me, it makes sense. Once again, I don't think that the police necessarily planted the sheet. I think the killer did. I think the killer planted it, if anybody.
Back to the point where the cell phone was turned off. In fact, that they planned this. Why would that person leave a piece of their DNA or anything having to do with themselves? Especially when you think of, remember when Bryan Kohberger, when he was arrested or when he was seen, they said that he had on gloves.
I'm with you, Arcane.
There was like a lot of covering, clothing covering. Like, that's how meticulous he was. But when you think about it, I think for a second, maybe a jury will entertain it. But of course, they're not going to believe it. Is it an argument? Yes. Is it a strong argument? Absolutely not. Because law enforcement definitely did their investigation.
Exactly. Let me give a shout out real quick to Megan. Thank you so much, beautiful. She sent in $5. Appreciate you very much so, Megan. Thank you so much.
Correctly, and they were very meticulous in the sense of, look, this DNA is not the only thing that they have. Remember, they have the cell phone records. They can put his car in the vicinity prior to these homicides taking place. In fact, they can argue that he was even circling the area. He was looking out for these students. Like, he planned all of this, so it's not going to go far at all.
And you know what else, Marsha, they have? They have the suspected killer returning to the scene of the crime the following morning. Is he kind of like taking a peek on the lawn and stuff, saying, oh boy, did I drop it over here? Did I drop it over there? I mean.
No, Vinny, it's AI. It's the AI. They got him. They drew his DNA and they used AI to recreate it.
Hey, get this Sharkeisha, bitch off my screen. Look, man. It's AI. Get the low IQ bitches off the fucking TV, please. Anyways, that was the dumbest shit I've ever heard. Anyways, I don't know where they find them. They let stupid ass Sharkeisha start talking. Yeah, you done fucked the whole shit up. You done fucked the whole shit up. But anyways, mind-boggling that the media calls Kohberger a low but nobody loser. Not exactly. All news people are so retarded. No, it is. They're dumb people. So in closing, I will say this in regards to the Kohberger case. Diversity hire, of course. Ain't they all? Nobody freely hires those people. You got to force us to hire them. You got to force us to rent to them. You got to force us to fuck them. You got to force a lot of shit. Anyways, when it comes to this, I want to, in closing, say that when it comes to this, I believe that the item the DNA was on was potentially planted. Not the DNA itself. The item was potentially planted. And seeing, you said bullshit, JB, well, you shouldn't be changing your name because you're scared. Because you don't want to be on your other channel because you're scared of the people. You're scared of the people. You need to stop that. And unless the driver knew Xana, how would they know if it was her or not that received the order at the door? Exactly. Damn, Meg, did you send another vibe? I appreciate you, Meg. Did you mean to send another vibe? I'm doing my volleyball. I hear you. I got you. But anyways, I definitely understand. Thank you, Meg. You just wanted to get up to 69. That's what this shit is. You're a freak. But look, I believe that we're clearly it showed that the case summary was changed today. She said, I did. There you go. There you go. I like that. It's hot. I want to say that hopefully we're going to get a real alibi. This whole case could be blown wide open. But see, the problem is that it looks to me like it's possible that they're keeping that information from the public. So maybe an alibi was entered today, and maybe we won't see it till trial. Maybe we won't see it till trial. I don't know. So when it comes to the Kohberger story, this is the end of my segment on that. So to the people over on the True Crime channel, which I'll be posting this to, I just want to remind y'all, fuck you and suck my dick. Enjoy your leftovers. Let's go ahead and get back to the show.